I'm Candy Crowley. I'm with CNN.
And how many Iowa caucuses have you covered before?
Do you really have to ask me that? Let me say that the first campaign I covered was when I was a White House correspondent, and it was the second campaign of President Ronald Reagan. So we didn't do the Iowa caucuses then because obviously he was going to win. So that would be George W. Bush. The first George W. Bush was my first Iowa caucus.
Okay, and you've been here many times. How is this year shaping up? How is it different from the caucuses you've covered before?
Well, you know, I know everyone will say that the major difference here is that it's so close. But the fact of the matter is, I think the major difference here is you really do have the first woman, the first black, and potentially the first Latino to be serious contenders for the presidency. So I think that's added an electricity from the very beginning to this Democratic side. I think what's fascinating with the Republican side is they're usually so organized, and they always go for the establishment candidate, so you pretty much know who's that's going to be. So we started out the year going, oh, it's going to be John McCain, and it's his turn. And guess what? It just all fell apart. So what's interesting on the Republican side is just the sort of chaotic feel to it, and the feel that no matter what happens in Iowa, we're not going to come out of here with a clear idea of who's going to come out on top on either side.
Okay, and I've obviously been looking a lot at the women's vote. Have you talked to women voters?
Absolutely.
And what are you hearing?
And, well, you know, I'm hearing a mix of things, frankly, and I don't find that particularly surprising. I find that there are some women who are coming out for Hillary Clinton for the history of it, for the fact that here is a woman who has a bona fide chance to become President of the United States. And they want to be there for that, and they want to be there for her for that. But I also talk to women who say, it makes no difference to me whether or not she's female. I'm going to go for the best candidate. So I do find some sense of history that runs through this election, and in fact that goes for Barack Obama as well, because he's the first African American with a real, what people perceive as a real shot at winning the White House. But I do find with women voters that they're not all that homogenous in how they view things, that there are many women I ran into who wouldn't vote for Hillary no matter what, and they were not just Republicans, and there are many who wouldn't vote for anyone else but her. So the dynamic is there, that women want to vote for the first woman president, but it's not across the board.
Okay, and what are you seeing campaigns do to attract women voters?
Oh my goodness. Well, let's start at the end.
Okay.
Which is the Clinton campaign at the end of this process over the past 3 or 4 days has begun to hand out snow shovels, hundreds of them, to their precinct captains so that those precinct captains can go and clear the walks specifically of elderly women.
Wow.
So that they can get to the caucuses.
Okay.
Now, Hillary Clinton in particular is depending heavily on women 45 to 50 and over. In fact, they claim they have a huge contingent of 90 and over, and she tells that story about, well, I love it when, you know, a 90-year-old woman came up to me and she said, I was born before women could vote, and I'm not going to die till I see a woman in the White House. So there's a very strong appeal specifically to women. The others, Edwards, Obama, certainly have talked about issues that are considered women's issues.
Right.
But now that we see national security as a women's issue,
right.
It's kind of across the board. But they all have their appeal. But clearly, just visually, and certainly when you identify who their core voter is, Hillary Clinton is the one depending most heavily on the female vote. And by the way, first-time female voters here in Iowa.
Okay, and to help readers understand how important Iowa is it crucial to win here? What happens after this?
It's not crucial to win in Iowa. Electoral history is full of people who didn't do well in Iowa and went on to win the presidency. It's pivotal, but it's not definitive. This is something that can change the makeup of the race as you go in. Let's say, for instance, Barack Obama wins. What happens? Well, Hillary Clinton no longer looks like the incumbent who is just sailing her way into the nomination. It becomes a Hillary Clinton versus not Hillary Clinton Democratic race.
Okay.
But let's say, on the other hand, that Joe Biden on the Democratic side places third, or even a really close fourth to any of the top tier. People suddenly go, well, look, my goodness, this is a very strong fourth. Now, it's always said that there are 3 tickets out of Iowa, first, second, and third. But if someone does better than expected, that gives you a bounce. And that moves you out of Iowa. And it does affect how New Hampshire voters see you. It does affect those New Hampshire voters, that being the next contest, who don't quite yet know who they're going to vote for. But it doesn't mean that however Iowa goes, New Hampshire goes. It just is a different kind of look at the race.
Okay. And do you have any thoughts on how the February 5th date is going to play out? Is it all over after that?
Oh, all over after February 5th? I'd almost bet anything on that, yes. I mean, I have to say, I do think it's over on the 6th.
Okay.
It may be over sooner than that. I mean, if Hillary Clinton walks in and cleans up for the next 3 times, it's just very difficult for me to see a scenario under which she would not win the nomination. If Mitt Romney wins here in Iowa and he moves in New Hampshire and wins there, and somehow can go south and win South Carolina, as they move into those February 5th primary states, the huge ones, you know, California, etc., as they move into that, you're wondering, can Rudy Giuliani, the Republican who is most counted on the February 5th primaries to propel him into the nomination, can he actually make up for the fact that he's kind of been out of the conversation for those first really key weeks of Iowa, Nevada, New Hampshire, South Carolina.
Okay. Where do you go physically from here?
Physically from here? Well, let's see. The short answer is New Hampshire.
Okay.
Getting there is proven to be a real task, but New Hampshire.
Okay. And then are you staying on the trail through the bitter end?
Well, I don't know. When's the bitter end? It's going to get quiet after the 6th of February, and one can get enough of on the bus, off the bus, on the plane, off the plane. So there's a respite after February, first of all, because whoever the nominees are go out and raise money, which is a pretty dull affair. And but things will kick in again June, maybe even May, as they begin to roll into the conventions.
Okay, my last question. Do you have any predictions about the caucus?
Never. Not on your life. I mean, first of all, because you could replay this.
Right.
The day
I
after
wouldn't
the
do that.
caucuses. Exactly. But I mean, honestly, even if I did have an idea, if I did have an idea, I wouldn't tell you, but I can tell you that I don't have an idea.
Okay.
Everybody's got hunches, but I could right now argue for Mike Huckabee to win or Mitt Romney to win. And by the way, if there's a strong third by John McCain, that really does wonders for him in New Hampshire, where he's very competitive, just as an add-on. I can also make you scenarios by which Barack Obama wins, by which Hillary Clinton wins, or by which John Edwards wins, and place and show in different orders. So I honestly, I don't know. I read today in the AP that at this point in the last caucus that was competitive, 40% of Iowans hadn't decided yet. Well, if you've got a race that's separated by a couple percentage points and 40% of the caucus scores haven't gone, anybody that predicts doesn't know what they're talking about.
Okay.